Housing, healthcare, and human rights. Common sense solutions for universal single-payer healthcare and for getting housing under control with social housing. These are the two principal pieces that are contributing to the homelessness crisis in the state. So one of my principal priorities is to actually call visible attention to the homelessness crisis throughout the campaign and what its actual roots are, because I don't believe that homelessness is a public nuisance. I believe that homelessness is a public policy failure. And by human rights, I mean rights to not have your civil liberties violated because you're being kidnapped by ICE. It means your right as a trans person to live your truth and to express your gender identity however you want without being discriminated against. If it's three, it's healthcare, housing, human rights. For every $100 increase in the average median rent, there's a 9% increase in the homelessness rate. If you have universal single-payer healthcare that is comprehensive of mental health care and addiction treatment, and you have common sense housing controls, then you actually take out the two key pieces. And then you can actually do direct spending on poverty alleviation to help lift the poorest people in our society out of struggle and hardship. I cannot accept that we live in a California that has 186 billionaires in it and 187,000 people sleep on the streets every night. I can't accept that California has the third largest gross domestic product after China and Germany. And yet we also have the second highest rates of poverty. We're tied actually with Louisiana for the highest rates of poverty of any state in the United States of America. That can't continue, it has to stop. So yeah, it's gonna be class warfare basically. I'm gonna tax the shit out of BlackRock and Blackstone. I'm gonna tax them so hard that they cannot wait to sell all of the vacant properties that they are holding for market manipulation purposes back to the state at pennies on the dollar, and that is gonna be the foundation of our social housing. And social housing is necessary because the principle that's guiding it is housing first. And housing first just means before anybody gets seconds, everybody eats. So that you can't have multiple vacant properties and some people don't have no place to live. That's just wrong. And if you hear Democrats talking about their plan, they're saying, we're gonna solve the housing crisis by build, develop. I'm like, that is just handouts to Gavin Newsom's developer buddies. There are places where public construction can be useful, but that's not the core of the issue. The core of the issue is that private equity has taken over real estate markets, and homes are for people to live in, not for investors to speculate on. Right now, California taxpayers pay 70 cents on every dollar that is spent in healthcare inside the state of California already. And right now, more than 30 cents on every dollar is spent on the healthcare companies and insurance companies, the middlemen rent-taking tier. The Brian Thompsons of the world. I'm a history professor, not a mathematician, but when you put 70 and 30 together, that gives you a whole dollar. If you take the middlemen out, we are actually capable of covering universal health care in the state of California. And with slim marginal tax increases for income tax on billionaires or wealth tax on billionaires, we can provide infinitely superior service to what is currently being offered. The people that we should be worried about as drains on our healthcare system are not immigrants, they're billionaires. 2% income tax increase on those 186 billionaires would have a bunch of cascading effects throughout the state. One of them would be that nobody that makes $100K or less would have to pay a penny of state taxes. So when you start to get creative about the solutions and you're not beholden to the insurance companies and the healthcare companies, yeah, you can absolutely provide for universal healthcare without any real significant increase in what we're currently spending. They don't want you to know that. The Democrats actually passed universal single-payer healthcare in 2006 and 2008. Because Schwarzenegger was the governor and they knew he would veto it. Gavin Newsom ran on universal single-payer healthcare in 2022, had the votes, and $2.7 million was laid down on the Democrat Party from the healthcare industry, and then they did not bring it to vote in the legislature. The only reason why we don't have it, because we can afford it, we can operate it, CalCare can absolutely meet this need, is because our politicians are owned. That's it. There's no other reason. General Motors pays more for its healthcare than it pays for the steel in its vehicles. If we have universal health care in the state of California, commerce is going to run to the state of California because it is going to make things so much more affordable, and it will rebalance commerce in the state of California, because right now small businesses can't compete with the big ones because we can't compete on insurance and benefits, right? So it rebalances the power away from the big corporations to the small businesses, and it also will draw business to the state of California. I am an anti-capitalist. I'm not anti-commerce. I believe thriving business is absolutely crucial to the success of California, but capital has to be directed by public good. We have to have somebody looking out for public benefit, because all we've had is people looking out for private profit. These goals are massively popular. These pieces, like free public education, universal pre-K, these again are 70-30, 80-20 issues for Californians. We've just lacked the political will or commitment to carry them out. So what does this look like in practice? I'm going to go into the governor's mansion with maybe a dozen or 24 people in the state legislature that are coming out of my party or my coalition. And I'm going to have to figure out how to get deals done with Democrats and Republicans that are already there. But their constituents are begging for these policies. So when I take the bully pulpit and say that what is standing between you and your mama's health care, what is standing between you and housing affordability are these people that are not trying to play ball, understand what will have happened. The largest flight from the duopoly ever to exist in American political history will have already taken place. We will have a popular mandate. And the way that I say this when I want to make the point is that those lawmakers and legislatures are either going to have to get down or lay down, because it's going down one way or the other. The people will have spoken. And this is not a pipe dream or a fantasy. I saw it happen. 1998, when Jesse Ventura, running from outside of the duopoly, won the governor's mansion in Minnesota, he was able to get both sides to play nice and get down with his program because the people had spoken. And you'd be surprised, Democrats and Republicans don't bang as hard on me as they bang on each other, right? You can actually be the grown-up in the room and try to get stuff done for the people of California. My vision is for a society that assures public safety without militarized police force. But I also understand that until we achieve the goals of education, healthcare, housing, and a just society, we need to be very, very careful on how we construct public safety. There are very few situations where introducing a person with a high school diploma and a loaded weapon into the situation make the situation less volatile. We have seen successful experiments in places like Baltimore with really powerful violence prevention programs that are rooted in community. One of the advisors to our staff, Abdul Nasser Rad, has worked on programs in New York City, and we've got abolitionists, but who are practical-minded folks building out the program for us for the state of California. Actually, they have a massive amount of power to do that right now. It's just that, unfortunately, the Democrat administrations can't do that because they don't bite the hand that feeds them. Who funds you runs you. And they are getting paid by those corporations to make our data, our inner and outer lives commoditized for profit, and also in ways that are going to literally rip our rights out from under us. One of the things that people don't understand about the executive branch in the state of California specifically is that it's one of the states in the union that has the most massive power of appointment. You can essentially write the regulatory roster throughout the state and replace people in positions that owe favors to corporate overlords with people that have no corporate commitments of any kind. The other place where the governor's office has an incredible amount of power is in the state of California, is with respect to the budget. We are going to starve the wolves and feed the shepherds. I remember when I started, because I started in the aftermath of September 11th, and we were screaming that this Gestapo police force, which you are turning all of this authority over to because you have been propagandized about terrorism, at some point in time, it is going to come back to bite you. So I have been barking up that tree for a couple of decades. You know, some people have gotten hip to ICE abolition because of the way that Trump has been carrying out, these most recent round of abductions. But Trump is still chasing Obama's deportation records. The theatrics of power are more brutal because it's exemplary violence that is designed to make people self-deport. The deportation tactics of the Democrats are meant to be subterranean, not visible to the eye. But both have been equally brutal. As governor of the state of California, I'm not going to comply with unconstitutional orders. Anytime the feds are stomping on the rights and civil liberties of people in my state, anybody, residents, anybody visiting, that's my job to stop that from happening. Which means that every lawyer and law enforcement officer in the state needs to be making sure that the feds don't touch a single hair on the head of any California resident without due process being followed. It's not the job of those municipal police departments or state forces to run cover and carry water for mass men that are kidnapping and abducting, people out of our communities. If it comes to the point where we need to have a showdown, then we have to have a showdown because courts are going to have to make decisions as to whether or not the federal government can openly violate everything that the Constitution says, and the states just have to lay there and take it. The Green Party has stood for ecological sanity and for the survival of the planet since it was founded, the U.S. Green Party, 4 decades ago on McAllister College campus. I'm going to fight for every last inch of that shoreline. We are not going to fossil fuel our way into the future. It is a path of destruction. So the aim actually is to reorient the economic activity in the state. We're going to need high-speed rail. We are going to need free public transportation. We're not going to personal vehicle ourselves out of the ecological crisis, and we damn sure ain't going to drill our way out of it. We're going to have to be creative. California is destined to lead the way in ecological sanity, and I am going to fight the feds tooth and nail on anything that they would do to try to corrupt what is objectively one of the most beautiful natural environments on the face of the earth. Nuclear energy is not as clean as people like to pretend that it is, and I think that we have more sustainable futures through wind and through solar and through other means. And if you really want to look at this carefully, so I lived in France on research leave for a number of years, speak French fluently, did my PhD research in French Africa. France is often propped up as the model of a society that leans heavily on nuclear, but there are not only major ecological effects, but look at the political destabilization that is actually driven by nuclear energy consumption. I have seen the cost of nuclear energy in West Africa. I have seen its cost in Niger. Sustainability is not just about sustainability for folks in Western societies, it's about sustainability for the planet as a whole. 10 toes down for Palestinian liberation, that's number one. Roger actually proposed this idea. Roger said, I want to do a benefit concert for your campaign because I believe in what you're doing in the state of California, and I believe if you break the duopoly in California, that it's going to lead to the change that we need in the country and in the world. We dropped what we were doing to try to put this together for a simple reason. These policies that we're discussing are so wildly popular with the people of California that the mainstream media and the corporate parties are doing everything that they can to make sure that nobody ever hear about Butch Ware or what we're running on. So we have to find ways to make our own noise and to make our own news. And if getting Roger Waters to come out and sing, Pink Floyd himself, to come out and sing doesn't get people's attention, I don't know what will. In this particular election, we have a great opportunity. It's a jungle primary. Only the top 2 candidates advance, and the second place finisher usually only needs about 17–18% of the vote. We're polling at 5% right now. Even if you don't think that I can win, get me to that 18%. Because which would you rather have? A Democrat, corporate Dem, Eric Swalwell for Israel, Eric Swalwell, trying to be the new Gavin Newsom 2.0. Would you rather have him chasing a Chad Bianco or Steve Hilton to the right, or would you rather have him have to deal with me in debates? And when that happens, the lesser of the two evils argument is off the table. If it's just blue versus green, then there is no red, boogeyman that you can use to scare people. Even if you don't think that I can win, then we are going to get better political outcomes by having them pushed in the direction of a populist politics that serves the people rather than the corporations.